Good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand. It's available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, and of course, YouTube and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Wednesday, August 24, 2022, and we are literally live and out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Happening Out Television Network is a 501c3 nonprofit media platform in the television and radio model of PBS and NPR, but designed for our LGBTQ+ community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Let's begin by welcoming anchor FayWhat. She's a radio and television personality and has a popular blog and YouTube channel aiming to unite the L and the G together. She is a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, an animal advocate and owner of Faye's Fur Family. And also make sure to catch her on the FayWhat Show, the first LGBTQ+ morning show, Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern, online, or of course your smart television. Good evening, Faye.
Good evening, boys. And I'm getting sympathy pain because I took like a bunch of boys to get their second monkeypox vaccine, so I feel the pain with you boys. I feel it. It hurts your hand a little, right?
Yeah.
Just a little.
And the arm.
Whatever, wherever it goes, whatever. Anyway, let's welcome our next anchor, John Hayden. And I'm so excited about presenting John Hayden because I hear there's a new intro and I'm all here for it. All right, so he's been a journalist for 27 years. He now works for several South Florida outlets, including South Florida Gay News as community editor. Okay, we got that. Covering politics, entertainment, and local events directly impacting the LGBTQ+ community. Yep, he does all of that. All right, John's interviewed everyone from presidents to Oscar winners and been on more red carpets than he can count. Insert red hair sex joke here. All right. Every time he is with Jake Gyllenhaal, he becomes like a 12-year-old boy who can barely speak and just stares into those haunting blue eyes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I didn't know. He's holding a little mini you, right? What is that?
That's
like you.
basically him.
Right?
That
Doesn't it look like a little John Hayden?
That was their interview.
Welcome back to the show, Mr. John Hayden. How was your vacation?
Oh my gosh, it was so great. It was so amazing. I spent a week on a cruise ship with my dad. I turned 50. We just had a lot of midnight pizza, had a lot of rich desserts. It was just so fun. And thank you, Dad. I love you. I'm so lucky to be able to do something like that.
Very nice.
We move on and let's welcome anchor Christopher Barnhill. Christopher is a native of Washington, D.C., HIV activist and community leader. If there's one thing you must know about him, Brandy Norwood is his queen. My queen is Queen Elizabeth. Your queen is...
Mine is Queen, my queen is Queen Latifah, and your queen is
Brandy
Queen
Rayana Norwood from Macomb, Mississippi. I am a stan. Shout out to Brandy, who just celebrated 25 years of the Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella that premiered 25 years ago to a crowd of 60 million people.
Forgotten that.
You forgot? How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you? And we're talking about Brandy Ray J's sister, right?
Excuse me.
Okay, no, I just wanted to be clear, right?
Yes, the one and only.
Oh, you're a little fanatical over Brandy.
I am.
He dresses up like Brandy at night.
Wait. I don't understand your fanaticism. Wait, have you ever heard of RuPaul? Oh, wait, now I understand.
Oh my God.
I'm just going to pray. Let's welcome Anchor Jonathan Casañas, a board member of FayWhat Miami, an organization working to unite South Florida's diverse communities. He is also one of the producers of Gay 8 Festival, the largest Latin diversity and inclusion festival in the nation. You can catch him on the road touring the country, hosting bear events like Mega Wolf and Macho Party. Good evening, Jonathan.
Good evening. Let me just tell you, I am your queen, so you should have named me. I don't know where we went off.
John, you don't feel any kind of way that, like, that was the first time Christopher said your name and he said it right. Al has known you for at least a year and a half and still can't say Casañas.
He hasn't said it right till this day.
Listen out, whisper, they said, what's your last name again?
Which is what Al did in bed last night.
Oh!
We are the reporters.
Wrong show, wrong show!
I tried to move on, I couldn't. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight. And this evening, we begin the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. And our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Wednesday, August 24th, 2022.
I just want you all to know this never happens on Meet the Press. All right, let's begin by queering up entertainment. Hamilton donates damages paid by Texas church to gay rights organization. Queer News Tonight previously reported on an unauthorized production of Hamilton done by the Door Christian Fellowship McAllen Church and Lin-Manuel Miranda's response. Pastor Roman Gutierrez has posted an apology on the church's Instagram that reads in part, quote, "On behalf of the Door Christian Fellowship McAllen Church, I would like to personally apologize to the creator of Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda, the producers of Hamilton, and the numerous others who contributed their intellectual property to Hamilton for staging an unauthorized production of Hamilton that infringed on rights and copyrights of many," end quote. Shane Marshall Brown, a spokesperson for Hamilton, said that the church has agreed to pay an unspecified amount in damages and that Hamilton will be donating all of those funds to the South Texas Equality Project. Absolutely a great ending to the story. We all knew when this was announced, and the producers and the people behind Hamilton said, well, we're going to let our attorneys take care of this, that we knew what the outcome was going to be. This church was in deep trouble, and this is the conclusion.
And aside from just stealing intellectual property rights, which is just wrong to begin with, we also should put the backstory in that they modified the show.
Yeah.
They put in like this anti-gay sermon that said homosexuality could be cured, and that is like the antithesis of what Lin Miranda was supposed to be. Like, I have a feeling if Sunshine Cathedral did a production and didn't ask Lin, he'd probably be like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to let this slide. But it was just the exact opposite of what Hamilton's message is.
And one step farther to your point, they not only modified the intellectual property directly, then they had a sermon after the presentation. That, well, right, not a sermon, but the pastor, one of the pastors, preaches against LGBT. One of the reasons why this outcome is so delicious, and I'm glad we don't know how much it was, I don't know what the terms of the agreement are, because at the end of the day, the crow that is being eaten in Texas tonight is the fact that all of that money in the decision of the conclusion of this potential legal action is going to help the people that advocate exactly of the people that they attack.
I mean,
justice.
Sure, I don't know if I'm the pessimist of the group, but I just feel like this turnout is just only going to rile up their base and really just have another Sunday where they're going to get that money right back. They're going to tell them, this is what's happened to us. We really tried to send out a cute message during our variation of this show, and we got fined. So let's get that money back. And another Sunday, they're going to get it all right back, just like every other church does.
Maybe not. This place sucks. Okay, we're constantly seeing this pastor have like video sermons. Okay, now he apologizes on a text. He apologizes on a post. Where's the apology in video? I want to see that. And my second thing, those lawyers are on point. We just told this story like last week, and already they got a settlement. They're going to get the money to where it needs to go.
It's true.
These are the kind of lawyers that this brown girl world needed a couple of years ago.
true.
Let me tell you.
We reported this story last Monday. That's how quickly this moved.
So,
you go ahead. No.
So by the next Sunday, that tithes and offering went up so they can afford that settlement.
You know, the one thing that should give you some solace is the whole LGBT world, including Queer News Tonight, is now following this church.
Yeah.
We're going to listen to every word that they say. We don't know. Part of the settlement may be you can't preach against the LGBTQ community. That might have been a concession that they got that we don't know yet. So we're going to watch and listen, and you know the entire planet's going to learn every word of hate that this church puts out. But they got smacked right in the mouth very hard. So
I want to know their
maybe
amount.
it's not. Yeah, I bet we never know.
Next, we queer up LGBTQ plus civil rights. GOP Senator Ron Johnson flips on marriage equality bill. Where are we?
There. Yeah. It's a very legitimate concern.
Does the amendment fix that, or
I've got to see their amendment. We're working on an amendment as well. So before I'd ever support that, again, it's completely unnecessary. You have to understand this. I mean, that bill is completely unnecessary. The decision on gay marriage will never be overturned. It's completely different than Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs decision. This is where stare decisis would be decisive. I do not see the Supreme Court overturning that, because that would impact millions of people that have been acted on that. Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs decision was proactive. It's protecting life in the future. So again, this is just Democrats opening up a wound that had really healed. I've always been supportive of civil unions, but the Supreme Court ruled on gay marriage, and it's okay, that's the decision, let's move on.
Last month, after the Respect for Marriage Act passed, the House with bipartisan support, eyes turned to the Senate, where 10 Republicans will be needed to vote it through. Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin had initially said he saw no reason to oppose the passage of the bill. Now he has changed his mind, saying that the bill needs to be amended to include an exemption for religious freedom. In an interview with WISN, he said, quote, "This is just Democrats opening up a wound that had really healed. I have always been supportive of civil unions, and the Supreme Court ruled on gay marriage and said, okay, that's the decision. Let's move on," end quote. First of all, I thought this guy was on Miami Vice. Then I found out that was Don Johnson. Then I thought that he had a surf shop. Then I found out it was Ron John's surf shop. Okay, now I found out who this idiot is. Now here's the thing. Ron Johnson is up for election this year, all right? That is why he has changed his mind. Somebody went to his ear and said, "Fool, you still want to win this year, right? You might want to come on our side." And that's what's happened. Oh, and thank you so much for giving us civil unions. You're so sweet.
Yeah, 2002 called. They want their politics back. At the start of your story, you asked where does this put us? This puts us, by my count, at 54 votes towards filibuster, which means we now need 6 more. Dems are not picking at this wound. Clarence Thomas, the most Republican judge on the bench, he picked the wound. Yep. He's the one who said, "I don't care about stare decisis," which
John,
is.
Why do you think that that's happening? Because I think that that's a bullseye point. Why have the Democrats gone so silent to not pick at this wound of going, here's why you've got to support, here's why why do you think that they're doing that?
Because I think that they have done a nose count and have 60 votes for the lame duck.
There it is. See, I agree with that. I think we're way closer than publicly they want to talk about.
I really do. And to Ron Johnson's point, he is running for re-election. But here's the thing. He's in Wisconsin, and he's trailing his Democratic opponent who just had his primary last week or the week prior. So he is just wrapping his arms around the base and praying that rural Wisconsin and everybody more than 10 miles outside Milwaukee are going to vote for him and carry him to victory, because he is going to go down. He's going to lose.
Those observations are absolutely correct. He's in trouble, and that's why he's done this. And we have an opportunity to be optimistic, because there's something going on, because it went too silent. And there's other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was dog whistle after dog whistle. I don't know. I mean, even though you feel like he was supporting, he would use words like, civil union and things of that nature. I just feel like he was trying to reach one base, but obviously reaching for another. So he's speaking out of both sides of his mouth. That's just what it felt like for me.
Yeah, his talking points wasn't all the way together. I think this is something we should be definitely concerned about. Just how they just overturn Roe versus Wade, they can do the same thing with gay marriage. And I think this is something that we should not, turn our eyes against.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely keep our eyes on this and definitely continue to talk about it, because I mean, it could happen. It could very well happen.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting. Sorry, I feel like it's interesting that he would say that, like it wouldn't be overturned like Roe v. Wade. When they were saying the same thing, it wouldn't be overturned as well.
It's because it's the easiest lie to tell.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Look over here because you don't have to worry about it. Well, of course we have to look over here because the evil thing that's on your shoulders is really talking. And the evil thing that's on your shoulders, Senator Johnson, is the hardcore, radical, evangelical religious right. That's who we have to pay attention to. And he's trying to misdirect. That's the reason there. You know, it's interesting because I went to Wikipedia and looked up his name. Of course, I know a lot about him anyway, but I went to look up his name. And at Wikipedia, the first description of Senator Johnson is hypocrite. It's interesting to me that was the first thing that was there because he immediately came out by saying, wait, I'm going to try to moderate myself by saying, oh, I'm not against this. I'm one of the 5. We're to 55 publicly. I just want to point out a couple of examples of how offensive this statement was. First, let's apply the exact same standard of civil union and apply it in the exact same context of black civil rights in the 1960s. We're going to have separate but equal, and we'll create rules that say, we recognize you, but only to a point. That's what he just said about gay marriage and civil union, and it could be applied to black civil rights.
I think we got to be very careful trying to compare the two.
Why?
Because as a black person, I think our issues are much more broader and much more lengthy than the LGBT issues. I think that it's important that we recognize that they're both separate issues, but we should never ever try to compare the issues against each other or compare them together.
Okay. That was not my intent.
I don't think that's what Al was doing.
Excuse me if I missed.
No.
I'm putting words in Johnson's mouth to make the connection that you minimize rights. That's the point that I was making. We could have never and should have never done that on the civil rights movement. And that's the way we dealt with civil rights for 25 very active years, and a lot of years even after civil rights were passed. We minimized the rights in every possible way we could, which is what he's doing right now. Yes, we got marriage in 2015, and it is settled law. And you shouldn't be discussing. We should water down those civil rights by talking about civil union, which is what he's done in 2022. Same kinds of things on women and Title IX. Equality is equality, and you do not water down equality decisions by saying, well, we don't really need to go that far because you're protected anyway. Well, yes, women were protected in the United States, but the reason Title IX came along is they were not being enforced. And that's why Title IX came back. And then the last thing that I point out is let's make the civil union argument. Okay, let's assume that the senator from Wisconsin is right. Why couldn't we apply that exact same standard and set aside the Supreme Court's decision of 1967 allowing a black man to marry a white woman? And then say, no, we're not going to allow that as a constitutional right of marriage, but it's okay to have a civil union. Why couldn't we apply that exact same argument in this exact same situation and say, Clarence Thomas, you're not allowed to get married, but we'll give you a civil union? That's horribly offensive. Yes. And it would apply in this exact same situation, in my opinion.
That's why I felt like it was a dog whistle.
It is a
well,
dog whistle.
We move on and we queer up South Florida gay news. Trans community gets today to just be themselves and have some fun. From state-sanctioned discrimination to being scrutinized by strangers while doing everyday tasks like shopping or having dinner. The trans community is under attack like never before, and it's easy to understand why many are so uneasy to relax and show off their bodies at a pool party or a fun park. In this week's SFG and online now and on stands tomorrow, I look at SunServe's Body Positive Beach Bash, an event encouraging the trans community to have a fun day in a safe space. There's a cookout, the Aqua Challenge, and beats by DJ Jessamix. This is the type of day many of us wouldn't think twice about planning for ourselves, but many in the trans community are self-conscious, worried about what others will think about their scars, their life, and their gender. But Saturday, September 3rd will be a judgment-free zone. I also speak with Misty Eyes, SunServe's Director of Transgender Services. Today, she is a strong, confident community leader. But this event reminds her that many are still struggling, and she shares her early struggles. She told me, quote, I've had a love-hate relationship with my body, and 20 years ago, It was more hate than love. I forgot how severe that was, end quote. The event is free, but you must register ahead of time at sunserve.org, and they'll send you the location and other details. I encourage you to learn more by reading my story at SFGN online now and on stands tomorrow. And you know, one of the things that strikes me is to keep it a safe space, they can't give out, or they would rather not give out the location until they have verified who's going to attend and who's going to be there, because people will still show up. I can tell you it's a very, it's a public place. It will be closed. It'll be after hours. But it's a public place. It's a very fun place. It's one of South Florida's, especially Broward County's jewels, to go out and have a nice day, especially on Labor Day weekend. But they have to take that extra step, which I completely understand. But I look forward to when I'm doing this story and I can say where it's going to be.
I love the body positivity of this, event. They had it last year, and I had a friend of mine who went, and she was just so comfortable. She said that she felt in a safe place, and it was the first time that she had introduced her new look and her new body to her friends and family, in a comfortable space, in a safe space. And we say it so easily because everybody at this table pretty much passes. It's not the same for our trans brothers and sisters. So an event like this just means everything.
I'm curious, and I know, obviously, I know who you're referring to, and for you in interviewing Misty in both situations, what is your reaction of your friend that went for the first time last year, and your interview of the event about allies attendance? What's the reaction of having allies come to this event?
Can I tell you that I offered to go, and my friend has always been very, very direct with me. Okay, I want to be an ally to the trans community, and I don't have all the answers. All right, so I go to her for a lot of the answers, and she lets me make mistakes, Al. And that's why I love her, truly. And I thought I was doing good by saying, hey, I want to go, I want to be a part of it. And she's like, Faye, it's not, I would rather you not. This is a place for people that don't get to do what you always get to do. This is their space, their place.
What do you think about that reaction?
Well, this year, last year you couldn't have gone. It was only for members of the transgender and GNC community. This year, for the first time in the history of the event, the attendees can bring their partner. So if I were dating a GNC person or a trans person, I could go. So last year you couldn't have gone. And Misty was very proud of that fact, that they're expanding it, that there's going to be more people there, but all allies and all partners, people who have an emotional investment in the community, which I think is really important.
So in this example, if I said, well, I want to support this event and go, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to go.
The appropriateness, I think, can be debated. And for me, that's a tough word, because I think it would be totally appropriate for us to be there.
Probably not the right word.
But I think that just to have the event for people, who want to just be able to really be themselves. Because a lot of people in the trans community, I've found, and granted I have a limited sample size, but some of them are even they sort of body shame themselves. They don't want to show off their scars. Or I haven't had as many surgeries as you've had. And so therefore they feel lesser than. And so I think it's just a day where they want to say, we're all together. We all get it. We try and get it. We empathize. Yeah. But we don't get it.
We will never.
We don't get it. And this is a day where I think that they really can.
Yeah. I think it's important that we recognize, and that, because I can only relate it to my experiences being Black. When I was in college, we had a Black student union, but there were members of the Black student union who were white who came. And not saying that it's a problem for them to come and understand, but sometimes when you're being an ally, you can take up the space by just being there, by being present.
Just being there.
Because people can't really truly be themselves if there's other people kind of spectating. And maybe that's what it's like for them at this beach bash if we as advocates and allies attend.
Yeah, that's a
interesting point. I have a really bad example, but
but I'm going to say it anyway.
It's only because I don't want to compare my experience with a trans experience. But I had an opportunity to be in a body positive, section of a magazine called Attitude, where Mega Wolf joined in all shapes and sizes. We were bears basically on this spread. And we got a lot of flack because my body at the time was more fit than it was round. And I wasn't as bearish as the rest wanted me to be. And so they were like, why would he be on the magazine if he doesn't really look like the rest of us who are really, drowning in this dysmorphia, this body, And so it really hurt me because I thought that I was being, encouraging, when in fact I got a lot of backlash for being a part of this community that I love so much. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what they're going to get from it if there's not a lot of like-minded individuals in there, and they're looking around and feeling really emotional about having other people see what they wanted to flaunt fearlessly.
I ask these questions in honesty, not for our viewers, but for myself, because it's very difficult for me to try to understand what this experience is and learn from this experience and move forward in being a better ally and community of this experience, which is the reason why I asked the question. Because at the very heart of this, I've known Misty for a long time. She did the RuPaul cruise with me for years. She was the only person, non-RuPaul, as a RuPaul queen, that I ever allowed to participate in the cruise and perform on the main stage. Misty Eyes was the only person that I ever allowed to do that. So I've known her for a long time. This event, I think, is magical and sad all at one moment, because it's magical that they have this opportunity. It's sad for me that all they want is some time to be able to, whether it's beach or wherever it is, to just come together and just be themselves. And that small victory is a giant victory. And that makes me sad. And it's an indication of how difficult the trans experience is. And then once you understand that, how do you participate in a positive way as ally to support, which is very difficult. I also want to mention that Misty Eyes is so incredibly important. In our community.
I love her.
Not only because of her leadership, but it's a dedication of trying to get it right. She has called me a blithering idiot about 100 times. I'll remind everybody, which probably you do not know, when we launched Queer News Tonight, Misty Eyes was an original permanent anchor at Queer News Tonight with Napoleon Plays. And when the three of us did the show, she would tell me over and over again, Al, you were just so incredibly dumb. And I appreciate it. I'm saying publicly with this event, I appreciated that, because she brought me along every step of the way. Al, come on, you can't be this ignorant. You can't be. And I started to get a little better. And that is because of Misty Eyes, and I thank her for that. And the last thing that I want to say about this is, I don't know what the right answer is in terms of participating, but the network and Hotspots Magazine is fundamentally committed. I sat in a meeting today with managers of the network and Hotspots Magazine where we talked about how do we move beyond white gay guy in community. Because we've got the white gay guy thing down. Oh, yeah. We're done. We got that. Do you know?
You've seen that movie 1,000
times. I've seen that movie 1,000 times. And I know I'm at the tip of the sword of that, but it's one of the reasons why you've participated in a Latino takeover. You've participated in a lesbian edition of the show. You've participated in a black edition of the show. Tomorrow, just totally in happenstance with this story, we have a trans edition of Queer News Tonight. This show tomorrow night will be all trans individuals telling the stories of the day of what's important to the trans community.
Absolutely.
It's a commitment for us, and we're kind of fumbling our way through to try to find better ways to do it. Because if we commit to that, our entire community is stronger. And Misty Eyes in this community is leading us, which we greatly appreciate and thank her for the ability to
thank you to this network for giving the trans community a space to sit around the table, okay? There will be 5 trans people sitting here. They don't need no help from the rest of us. They got it all taken care of just on their own. And it's going to be a badass show.
Exactly. There's no white guy sitting there going, what do you think about it?
Right. All right, let's queer up trans rights. Tucker Carlson signs as he suggests Biden admin puts chemicals in milk to turn kids transgender.
They're coming after an independent, successful farmer who takes out the government middlemen and provides food directly to his community and his people. Now, by taking out the middleman, by taking out the government, you're taking power away and taking leverage away from the government and putting that power and leverage in the hands of the community and the farmers and the people. And another thing I'll add is Amos's farm doesn't use any gasoline or any fertilizer. Now, as you know, these commodities have become very expensive because of Biden's policies in regards to the war in Ukraine and Russia. So Amos has completely eliminated any risk coming from the international or domestic politics of the Biden administration, and they're coming after him for it.
Maybe if he promises to put more chemicals in the milk that turn kids trans, they'll lay off. Did any of the federal marshals decline to raid an Amish organic farm on principle, or did they all just go along with this?
Yesterday, Queer News Tonight reported that people who are less educated are more likely to vote Republican and to believe talking points that are not based in fact. On a recent segment of Tucker Carlson Tonight, the host had guest Jeremy Lafredo, a writer for the far-right Rebel News, on to discuss the FDA raid of an Amish farm owned by Amos Miller. Miller has had continued issues with the FDA since 2016 and has repeatedly been fined for selling unpasteurized milk and uninspected meats. Carlson turned this attempt to protect the health of individuals buying these products into a burn piece on the Biden administration, claiming the government was blocking the sale of wholesome and edifying foods in an attempt to make people dependent. Lord have mercy. I just miss the days when journalism had ethics. Because I'm just like, where are we? What year is this? What's going on? How did we get here? How did we not get here again? I don't even know what to say in this moment. So maybe someone just take it.
Christopher, no, okay, John, explain to me. I'm very lost with this story. So I mean, what? I mean, we all know that oat milk makes people gay, right? Not regular milk, right?
I thought it was almond milk, but you could be right.
I could be right.
Yeah,
makes you more gay. But okay, so what's the deal with it?
Because it comes from nuts.
Wow.
You said something about when journalism had ethics.
Yes.
This is not journalism.
No.
This is absolutely opinion. And granted, MSNBC, CNN, they all program opinion in primetime. Right. I get that. But got to remember.
And Queer News Tonight.
And Queer News Tonight, yes. But they were sued by the voting machine. Fox News Channel was sued by for slandering the voting machine people after the 2020 election. And Fox's defense was, this is an entertainment show that no one reasonable would take seriously. Yeah. That's literally been their response. Yeah. And by the way, I don't know if that was for me or for Tucker, but either way, it was probably appropriate.
Definitely not you. No, it was for Tucker.
But and remember, and I bring this up every time we do a Tucker story, his father has been transphobic for decades. He was a main anchor in LA, and his name is appropriately Dick.
Yeah.
Dick loves it.
Dick
Tucker.
We reported Pew Research.
That should be a RuPaul queen. Sorry.
We reported Pew Research's new report this week that less educated people are the least likely to continue to turn out to vote. And Pew was drawing the connection that the GOP is going to be in trouble if this trend continues, because Democratic voters are college educated and have significantly increased from 22% 12 years ago to 41% having bachelor's degrees in turning out to vote. And the GOP had increased from 27 to only 29%. So the Democrats were increasing their educated viewers dramatically. Fox News is proof of that. To be honest with you, it is. All the jokes we make, I can't make jokes about Tucker because, he and I are secret lovers.
That's your boo.
And
secret lovers.
That's what we are.
Oh dear. That's going to stick with my highlights reel forever, please. But it's interesting to me. Tucker Carlson's a super smart person, super brilliant, smart person. He is selling entertainment. He knew exactly what he was doing. Yeah. He's bringing these people in. He knows exactly what he's teeing them up for and what he's going to do to deliver the proposition of the craziness that he brings in. He's P.T. Barnum bringing in the freak shows
Yeah.
and then teeing them up and saying, see America? And that's why 10 million people watch Tucker Carlson. And he's selling what he's getting.
How about the guy from The Rebel? What's that place all about?
The Rebel is in the same fashion as Newsmax and the others. It's an uber conservative outlet that masks itself as news. And these type of very extreme right-wing organizations, media organizations, are the ones that either initiate the rumor that 10,000 dead people voted in Michigan, or they propel it, or they do both. They create it and propel it to get a certain percentage of Americans that only read a headline and go, oh, of course that must be what happened, and why the election was fraudulent, and why the election was stolen, and why we should storm the Capitol on January 6th.
But this news is very, very scary because, I mean, January 6th is very scary. It was scary. I'm from D.C. I mean, it's really hard to get in the Capitol. You got to sign up, all this stuff. And for them to be able to get in as easily as they did with no high police presence, it's just scary. And news like this can only make things much worse. I'm just nervous for the future.
So be careful where you get your milk.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, next, let's queer up health. Monkeypox does what Evangelical Church never could. Reduce gay sex in half. A new online poll by the CDC shows that men who have had sex with men have reduced their sexual activities by almost half due to monkeypox. The disease has now been detected in all 50 states, and men who have sex with men make up the largest number of people infected. The survey conducted August 5th through the 15th shows that 48% of those questioned have reduced the number of sex partners they've had. 50% have reduced the number of one-time encounters, and 49% have reduced the amount of sex they have with partners found on hookup apps. While the disease is generally mild and easy to deal with, there is a variant of the virus that can be deadly for 1 in 10 individuals, especially in those with compromised immune systems. And I know this to be true. This survey has to be accurate because my boyfriend has reduced his amount of sex with me recently.
He doesn't live here.
He also doesn't live here, so I'm not having sex 50% of the time.
Oh, listen.
This is a real thing. I know a lot of my friends are taking this really serious. I've had a number of friends, a number meaning a very small amount of friends who have had it. Very mild case. This has been a shocker for them, more so than any other disease or virus that we've had in the past. They're really scared. The consensus, at least in my group, in my circle, is that this is not to be played with. A lot of that comes also with the stigma that it comes with. If you have a rash, or if you have a skin
allergy,
an allergy,
breakout, yeah,
you're immediately looked at as a crazy person walking around with the disease. So people don't really want to walk around with a blemish or anything like that, because not only do you feel like you are going to be hurt from this in the long run, you really don't want to walk around with a target on your face. And I think that's really where it comes from, which is sad. It's not the virus. It's more of, I don't want to tell people that I have this.
See, and I don't agree. I think that this survey or this whatever this report maybe catches on to the rest of the country, but not South Florida. COVID didn't stop my boys from having sex.
True.
Okay, like anchors sat at this right table and said they had more sex during COVID than they ever had in life. Okay, so I don't believe the study for down here. I think that people are taking monkeypox seriously down here and getting vaccinated, etc. But I don't think that my boys have cut their sex in half.
I would say that would be true normally, but there was an outbreak here in Fort Lauderdale where one person has spread it to 100 individuals. It happened in one setting.
At your house?
It was not my house, but it was really close. And so the CDC really jumped on that, and they had to call every individual that was a part of this session or this event, and it really scared a lot of people here within South Florida.
Yeah, I thought I might have it because I had a couple of stores. Good news, it was just herpes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is live, right?
And by the way, this never happens at Meet the Press.
No.
You know, one of the things that's really interesting to me, and John, I'm going to catch John completely off guard. The first person in South Florida that said monkeypox is important, we should be paying attention to this, and said it over and over again, was John Hayden.
Yep.
And
we laughed at him.
To the point where we laughed at him. It's like, John, Are you going to talk about monkeypox again? Wait, you are way ahead of the curve. You were way ahead of me. Congratulations on you. You recognized how important it was. The other interesting thing about this story is church tries, evangelical church, basically wants to say, you can live, but we just don't want you to live your existence. And that, of course, means men having sex with men or women having sex with women. Women are not significantly in any possible way affected by monkeypox so far. We'll see how this evolves. But it's interesting that monkeypox has had an effect on the gay male community, unlike evangelical church that is preaching and has forever against this. That's what this report is so interesting on. And the reason for me that this report is so interesting is, remember all of fights over COVID-19 and all of the fights over masks, all of those fights and all of the ridiculousness that we saw come out of the Trump administration and definitely out of the governor's office, Governor DeSantis's office in Tallahassee, is nobody's following the science. The science is saying this and this and this. One of the interesting things about this report from the CDC is it's saying that gay men are paying attention to the science. Yeah. And that's encouraging because it indicates that they're not this radical, we're just running amok and we don't believe facts and we don't believe science. We do, because that's what a month's worth of really intense reporting on monkeypox has brought us. A significant reduction of the principal way monkeypox is spread. In what world is that not good news? That is good news. Yeah. And until they can catch up with the number of vaccines, and they're pouring the vaccines into the critical population areas where we need vaccine. I had my vaccine last week. They're pouring the vaccines in those critical areas. This is all good news. And it's also good news not only because of dealing with monkeypox front and center, it indicates that gay men are paying attention. They're following the science.
Well, me and my friends, we always share information about monkeypox and where to get vaccinated. Even a few of my friends have registered myself up for vaccination sites and stuff like that. We are definitely paying attention. I know even personally for me, I've gotten rid of abs and taken it more seriously. I'm even looking at mosquito bites a little differently these days because I just don't want to have to deal with two separate, I'm HIV positive. I don't want to have to deal with that as well as monkeypox. And I know that it has a severe devastation for those who are immune compromised. And so many of us who are immune compromised are definitely taking it more seriously, even though we may not have taken it as serious with COVID.
Well, the bottom line is we can make lots of funny jokes about the sexual activity of gay men, because there are many funny jokes there. But we are taking monkeypox serious. And the first person in South Florida that alerted us is John Hayden. Congratulations to you. All right, next, let's queer up politics. What we learned from midterms is LGBTQ plus America now holds its breath until November 8th. Yesterday's primaries here in Florida had highs and lows for the LGBTQ plus community. Allies like Nikki Fried and Charlie Crist both did well in their primary for gubernatorial candidate, as a gubernatorial candidate, while Crist took the nomination. Florida Department of Health COVID whistleblower and ally Rebecca Jones won the primary in Florida's 1st District, where she will face off against alleged groomer and sex trafficker Matt Gaetz. While openly gay friend of the network, Todd Delmay, did not win in his district, it was won by an LGBTQ advocate, Hillary Cassell. Chevron Jones also won the primary for his 2nd term as state senator. In Flagler County, anti-LGBTQ plus school board member Jill Woolbright lost her seat to moderate Sally Hunt. In New York, there was a special general election for New York House District 19 that became a hot point for abortion rights and equality, probably the most visible in America, and voters elected Pat Ryan, the Democratic contender. Jerry Nadler, the co-founder of the U.S. House LGBTQ Equality Caucus, also won his primary. New York also saw the defeat, unfortunately, of openly gay incumbent Mondaire Jones, who was defeated by Dan Goldman, the multimillionaire who is heir of the Levi Strauss company. And Jones was the first black LGBT House member ever elected. Highs, mostly lows yesterday. The most significant statistic of the winners and losers was us. We are the most significant losers because the turnout was incredibly small. I have read some initial reports that the midterm turnout, which is always low anyway, is lower than it was in 2018. We'll see in the next couple of days. But if the LGBTQ community does not rally between now and November 8th, we are definitely going to be holding our breath in terms of what happens to the Senate, what happens to the House, what happens to the governor's seat, what happens to a Senate seat, all vital for LGBT rights.
I'm bummed that our friend Del May didn't win this election. I have a feeling he'll be back though.
600 votes. You have to wonder.
What?
There wasn't 600 votes in Hollywood, LGBT. You
That's
have to
heartbreaking.
wonder.
How about the rest of this, boys? Like, what's next? Like, now we all rally behind Mr. Charlie Crist and
yes, we did.
And make that happen.
And Val Demings.
And Val Demings won. I mean, Val Demings is an incredible human.
And a quick soundbite. Val Demings comes to Stonewall Pride, gets on the main stage, does a firebrand speech to say the LGBTQ community is important. And the current senator, Marco Rubio, never steps foot in the LGBT-centric community. Charlie Crist has been governor. He changes party, and he basically initiates an LGBT manifesto of what he's going to do in Florida for the LGBTQ community. Against Ron DeSantis, both seats are no-brainers. They're no-brainers. Find a reason why you would vote against Charlie Crist or you would vote against Val Demings. That's the outcome between now and November 8th. The only question remaining is, are we going to care, and do we go to the poll?
Can I make, since we're on such downers, I'm going to bring a bright point of light from last night's election. I know we're generally focusing on LGBTQ candidates, but since the Dobbs decision overturning Roe versus Wade came down, there have been, I think, 8 special elections for House seats, 4 of which I think were last night. Every candidate, every Democrat has overperformed what Joe Biden did 4 years ago, and they were underperforming in specials before this election, which means Democrats are getting motivated. We just have to bring it and translate it into the November election, because there is excitement there for people, and Biden, they're overperforming.
Are you a superstitious person?
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
I am a little stitious. I am superstitious, and so superstitious that you even mentioning something good scares me.
Well, I mean,
I heard 4 people go, "Oh, I don't need to vote then."
Exactly. That's what I was. That's exactly what's happening in my brain. I was like, now that you said that, people will now sit on their butts.
November 8th. November 9th, we've all got to commit to being on Queer News Tonight on Wednesday, November 9th, and we are all going to blame John.
We're all going to blame you.
Sounds fair.
All right? Just so you know.
That's not it. I want everyone at his door.
So next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m. with more than 30,000 watching every week.
I'm Gabe Salazar, Artistic Director of the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
So that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community. Wow, I look different there for a minute.
I was going to say.
I was like, wow, I need to talk to my makeup artist. What is going on?
I couldn't tell.
Oh, shut up, John. I'm going to beat your ass after this.
This never happens at
This
Meet the
never
Press.
happens. Never happens on Meet the Press. That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
You know it is, so help us by liking us, by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates and share the news with your friends, family, and Tucker Carlson.
Oh, God. Post this broadcast in the many groups you're a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these type of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. And that is the passion of the Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including FayWhat and John Hayden, Christopher Barnhill, and Jonathan Casañas. Did I say that correctly?
That was close.
Close. Okay. All right. Well, I'll continue to work on it. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. But before we end our show, we have one final story.
We end tonight's show by queering up the big interview. Porn star documents the reality of monkeypox in exclusive live interview. Queer News Tonight has continued to document the spread of monkeypox in the gay and greater communities. Recently, Al Ferguson interviewed adult video performer Silver Steele, who had recently finished his own battle with the disease. They discussed the stigma attached to the disease, the thoughts of it being a gay disease, and the connection to monkeypox and sexual activity.
Well, we're very happy to welcome now a healthy Silver Steele to Queer News Tonight. Good evening, Silver. We're, as I said, we're very happy to have you with us tonight. I have been reading all about your process of what's been going on for the last month. It seems like every gay man's nightmare. I read, and let me make sure that I've gotten this summary correct. I read that, of course, it's only been a number of months where monkeypox even came to the national LGBTQ and health attention. Mid-July, you began to get sores, and it became an evolutionary process to learn that you actually had monkeypox. Tell us a little bit about what happened.
That's correct. So the sores began it's like little tiny white heads on my just below my lower lip, right around here. You can see in my photos, I documented everything. So July 11th is when they showed up, and that was a Monday, and I had been out on a boat in Austin the weekend prior. The incubation period is a little bit longer than that, so I knew that wasn't when I contracted it. So just judging by the timeline, 4th of July weekend, which was it was a party weekend for me as well, I surmised that I caught it then, and I wasn't doing anything too crazy, and I couldn't sexually trace it back to anybody. That my only other guess was through more casual contact out at the bars, which, at gay bars, were shirtless and making out with countless guys. And so either way, I focused less on, who I got it from or where I got it from. I tried to contact trace as best I could, but I was really focused on just kind of going through the experience at the moment. So when those first popped up, I didn't think that was monkeypox because it just looked like a couple of little whiteheads. I thought maybe razor burn, and I'd been out in the sun and had a lot of sunscreen on my face, so I didn't know. But it wasn't until the week progressed and I got to Friday, which is the 15th, where they no longer really looked like whiteheads, but more like blisters, and I woke up with flu-like symptoms. I had sore throat, swollen lymph nodes, no fever yet, but it was enough for me to put 2 and 2 together and think, okay, it's probably monkeypox. And that week was the first week that Houston was even testing for monkeypox. You before that, you couldn't even get a test. And so
yeah.
I went to got tested. And so
I'm curious, in those critical few days, as you're thinking it is something else, and then it begins to dawn on you that it is monkeypox. Was there any intrepidation on your part to report it, to discuss it, seek any specific medical attention? Was there any issue because you thought maybe it's related to monkeypox that's slowed the process for you?
I wasn't worried about seeking out, even though I feel like I might have been in the minority not being worried, because I've talked to so many men that were like, that have sent me messages and said like, I have it, but I'm scared to go to the doctor. I'm scared to tell anyone. That never really crossed my mind. I just was like, as soon as I thought I knew what it was, I immediately had no reserve about calling my doctor and being like, hey, I think this is monkeypox. Let's find out. And then I also was not hesitant about contacting people that I had been close to. My partner and another person very close to me both immediately got the vaccine. They had access to the vaccine as soon as I was diagnosed as positive. So I had no reservations about that. I was a little slower to go public with the information. I needed some nudging in that department, but about trying to find out how to treat this and what to do, I was talking to every resource that I could, and there are several online I could actually get in touch with, which I use those resources.
Silver, as we indicated in the introduction, is very well known in the gay adult entertainment industry. Has many friends here in South Florida, where we're based. Here in South Florida, did you find out in terms of the best of the contact tracing that could be done? Do you know? Did you infect other people? Any knowledge of that?
Not to my knowledge, because you do infect people when you have active symptoms, and I don't really go out much during the week. So the only person I was near between the time that these first appeared on the 11th and when I got tested on the 15th was my partner. And then my other close friend who went and got tested too. But we were just in proximity of each other, but we weren't really doing anything. I mean, when you saw this on my face, it wasn't like it was something you wanted to kiss, right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
So fortunately, I didn't really put anybody else at risk. And to date, nobody has traced any case back to me.
Yeah. And Silver, what's really fascinating about your story, as you said, is you have been incredibly public about what you went through. We have talked about here in South Florida, your experience. You're kind of a reminder to us of what like January 25th was of 2020 when COVID started. You knew there was something there, but you really didn't know what was really going on. And that's kind of where we have been in monkeypox. Now we're seeing the federal government's declared a state of emergency over monkeypox, and there's this great rush for vaccine and focusing on especially the gay men's communities around the country. But that wasn't available, as you indicated. Houston hadn't basically even started the process of discussing, much less doing anything about monkeypox. So you're kind of guinea pig, January 25th, 2020 of COVID almost, and you give us an eye into what's going on and what to expect. As we watch your pictures, first, we are just shocked by the images of the pictures. You've documented it so well. But the other thing that really catches us by surprise is you talking about, in rare instances, monkeypox has fatal results. In most instances, it does not. But you talk about how incredibly excruciating the pain was of the process. Tell us a little bit about that. I understand you even ended up having to get a prescription where your doctor prescribed Vicodin to deal with the pain of the monkeypox. Tell us about that.
I was lucky because I don't think Vicodin is something that most doctors will hand out too freely. But I think my doctor actually specializes in, a lot of his clients are gay men. And so I don't have a history of any kind of opioid addiction or anything. So he was like, I'm going to do Vicodin. I'm going to also prescribe you something called gabapentin, which is actually has turned out to be a really great medicine. And it's non-opioid, but it helps dull the nerves. So that, in conjunction with the Vicodin, really relieved a lot of pain. And so even if someone can't get a hold of Vicodin, if they can get gabapentin, that even with ibuprofen would be a huge help for them. And not only that, but my facial pain is probably nothing compared to what a lot of gay men have been experiencing, because they have experienced monkeypox lesions below the belt, whether it's on their genitals or their anorectal region, and going to the bathroom isn't something that you can really just sort of stop doing. And so when they would have to do that, they just would go through enormous amounts of pain. The pain I felt was normally just from me, sitting there, or I had a lesion on my tongue and one in the back of my throat, so it made eating very painful. But I had some analgesic spray I could spray on those if the Vicodin and the gabapentin weren't quite reaching it. But yeah, I would strongly suggest those medications, because if the way that my face hurt without anything touching it, I can only imagine what other people were going through when they had it in more sensitive areas.
And that's really the crux of our interest in helping educate gay men here in South Florida and around the country. You indicated in your social media posting that it actually was the worst on day 11, not in the earliest stages of the infection. It took quite a while for it to reach its worst. Did that surprise you? The process of basically no knowledge of monkeypox to very little knowledge to having a breakout to this painful experience. Did all of that really surprise you in terms of how it literally creeped up on you?
It did, and not only that, but I think that is where a lot of the fear comes from, because you don't know. I had no idea how long it was going to take. I mean, there was just anecdotal evidence, like it lasts 2 to 4 weeks, and there's pain, but they don't say when the pain starts. They don't say when the pain stops. And so you just have to kind of sort of take it day by day. And then not everybody's pain is the same. Some people have less intense pain. Some have more. Some describe it as a burn, no itching. So, even with the knowledge we have now, all we can say is be prepared for one or more of these types of feelings whenever you get the sores. A little bit further along, and not only that, but the pain ended before the lesions fell off. So even in the days that were, as I was approaching the end and waiting for the scabs to fall off, I really wasn't even having to take pain medication anymore. So for people who message me going, how long do I have to deal with this? I let them know, I'm like, it's really not as long as you think. I know these few days, these like 7 days in the middle can be really intense and really hard, but push through. It's not for as long as you think it's going to be. You just have to the image for a while.
I want to ask you, Silver, we're talking a lot about monkeypox, and initially we didn't give it much credence because so few infections were being reported, but the numbers are escalating very significantly. South Florida reported a month-over-month increase of 40%, which is principally gay men. 98% of everyone being infected are gay men. Do you think, I'm curious from your experience, you're, again, that kind of beginning guinea pig for all gay men to learn from what monkeypox is all about. Do you think, from your point of view and your experience, are we taking this as seriously as we should?
I think we are more now, but it's one of those hindsight is 2020 things. When the World Health Organization said global emergency, I was sitting here thinking like this should have happened 6 weeks ago. When America declared an emergency, it was like, no, this should have happened a while ago too. And then, of course, for gay men, myself included, who are now we're seeing these infection rates rise drastically. We're all like, okay, we should have taken this seriously sooner. So it's something that's part of the reason I went public, is I wanted to tell everybody, hey, y'all, take this serious now. If you're planning on going to market days or Southern Decadence or what have you, go get vaccinated. And especially now that it's more available. It's not, widely available in some areas yet, but a lot of the major metropolitan areas are finding it the citizens are finding it less difficult to go get the injection. You can see here, I actually got my vaccination, and there are several people saying, yo, you don't need to get the vaccination after you had it. Really, this is partially symbolic because I was telling everybody to get vaccinated, so I needed to do it myself. But I have no qualms against having some extra protections, because Lord knows if this thing mutates or what.
If we could put that picture back up one more second. Silver, I have to tell you, that's probably the most appealing get vaccinated image I have ever seen. So congratulations to you. I'm curious in terms of what you've learned through this process. It is easy for viewers, gay viewers included, gay men, to say, well, you're in the adult industry, so this is natural, that's how you got it, blah, blah, blah. It really isn't that, is it?
No, to tell you the truth, if I could cop to a story about like, oh, I was on set, or oh, I was filming an OnlyFans video, I don't have that story, and I would own it if that was the case. But I really don't know where I got it, because in the time frame where I would have caught this based on the incubation period, I wasn't doing anything really wild and crazy. So, but that's not to say that that people should still not take precautions. Vet your sexual partners. Just ask maybe where they've been or what they've been doing, and yeah, by all means, go get vaccinated. Just even if you only have the first shot before you go somewhere, it helps. It's better than nothing.
Yeah, and I want to kind of end our exploration of what has happened to you with monkeypox, and that is on the vaccine. They're rushing vaccine. We reported the end of last week that the CDC and Department of Health, the federal agencies of health, are focusing on an additional very significant number of vaccines, principally at gay men's events around the country. Pride events, Southern Decadence, you will be able to get vaccinated, etc. Tell gay listeners that are fans of yours or you're being introduced to why the vaccine is important in your opinion.
So there's charts out there already that yet. 2 weeks after the first shot, I believe you have around 28% protection. I might be off these numbers a little bit. 4 weeks after the first shot, you go 65% protected. And then 2 weeks after your second shot, I believe, you are 98% protected. And that's not just like either getting or not getting it, but if you do happen to pick up the virus, you will have a much more subdued version of it, because believe me, you don't want to go through what I went through. I know a lot of people that have picked it up even after getting the shot, but they end up only having like one small lesion somewhere or one small lesion somewhere else, and they're just thankful that they didn't have to go through a more difficult case. And now it is more accessible. The bar that I did a gig for in New Orleans this past week, the Phoenix, they do pop-up vaccination clinics. I think they're doing one this Thursday in New Orleans from 5 to 8 with 500 doses. I think a lot of public health organizations are realizing that these clubs or even like certain bathhouses have the reach to the audience that needs this the most. And so they're giving doses to these businesses that want to do these little pop-up clinics at their places that happen weekly, twice a week, sometimes even daily. So I would strongly suggest contacting local gay businesses that are frequented by gay men, because they may have something for you.
Yeah, it's very, very good advice. Last question for you, Silver. Lots in especially the political far extreme right have suggested that this is a gay disease. It's a gay man's disease. It's a plague. It's whatever. Fill in the blank. What are your thoughts about that in terms of how monkeypox is being associated as a plague on the gay community?
I have to be very careful when I bring up this topic, but part of the reason that I first decided to go public with this is because I was seeing so many gay men who were scared and quiet and felt shame about what they were going through, and I was drawing a lot of parallels that happened to our community 40 years ago. And I said, now is not the time to be silent. Now we have to speak up, and people need to be educated and really know what's going on. And so when you hear about HIV being a gay disease, you're like, no, you see what happened. It hits the general population. And viruses, anybody who knows just biology basics, they don't go looking for gay men. They look for anybody. We were unlucky enough to, for it to hit our community hardest first, but there have already been cases that happen outside the community, and it could be anybody that's in hotels dealing with linens that wasn't prepared, or I've heard of first responders getting it. Even in Texas, we actually have had our first child that is tested positive with it. So everybody needs to be vigilant about this. No one is safe or immune to this naturally. So that's not saying that everybody needs to be scared of it, but everybody needs to give this virus the vigilance it deserves.
Very well said. We continue to follow your story. And to everyone out there that wants to learn more about monkeypox, from a firsthand experience, we encourage you to go to Silver Steel's social media. It is very, very well documented. We're very happy you're healthy and things have returned to normal. And thank you very much for helping make us all understand how critically important monkeypox is to our gay community. Thank you for being with us tonight at Queer News Tonight.
I appreciate it, Al. Thank you so much.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the